let me tell you, after 6 years and over 600 episodes, I have never, ever encountered such an issue like this that prompted staff members to write a letter to the school board. Never, in all of the 6 years, there were claims of violence in all of the 6 years. And now, 8 years later, never ever have we dealt with an issue to where everyone would get involved in an unsafe school. Good evening and welcome to Give Me a Break. I'm Jonathan Carmody. A couple seasons ago, we focused in on this story, which prompted investigators and teachers to start writing letters to the school board. Why? It was because of a story. It was because of this story. They didn't write to me, they wrote to the school board, which is exactly what this story is about. It's about the Peel District Board of Education investigating claims of violence and unsafe conditions. If you ever went to that school, you might have noticed these unsafe conditions, all the violence. If it's another Project Baltimore story, this is not Project Baltimore. This is from a different county. And as we're about to tell you, it's worth taking a second look at. Here's Shauna Hunt with our Give Me a Break second look.
Allegations of violence, intimidation, bullying, and unsafe conditions at this Mississauga Middle School are now being investigated by the Peel District School Board after an anonymous letter allegedly written by a group of teachers began circulating on social media.
The teacher reached out to me and she sounded pretty desperate that she had run out of options.
Retired lawyer turned community education critic Michael Tepper says he received the letter directly from a teacher at Tompkin Road Middle School and was asked to help spread the word, telling me staff there feel like they've hit a wall and had no choice but to take their concerns to social media.
As explained in her letter, she had tried to go through the chain of command at the school and she felt that they were just being ignored.
The anonymous letter outlines a long list of violent and unsafe behavior by a group of students. Some of the claims include students defecating on the bathroom floors and rubbing their feces on the walls, homophobic slurs and swear words being yelled in teachers' faces, students threatening each other with X-Acto knives and meter sticks, blasting music in hallways and playing basketball during class time, doors being busted down, the bathrooms being taken over, and the office vandalized. Staff at this school also claim that they have pleaded with the administration for help and guidance, and they've exhausted all the methods they were trained to use, saying there have been no consequences. The letter has been circulating online for about a week, and now the school board confirms it is investigating. In a statement, City News is being told the superintendent is also aware and is at the school today facilitating a series of scheduled meetings with staff throughout the week. It goes on to say, we can also confirm that for specific items alleged in the letter, student suspensions have taken place. But our follow-up questions regarding suspensions and the timing of the investigation have gone unanswered.
I'm glad to hear that the superintendent is there, that they have a physical presence. I think it's essential that senior staff actually step into schools to see what's going on. Senior administrators and ministry officials need to put their heads together to come up with appropriate ways to deal with these situations.
According to the letter, staff here would like to reinstate structure, standards, and expectations. They're calling for a cell phone ban and want to ensure that there will be consequences for misbehavior. In Mississauga, Shauna Hunt, City News.
Now,
You might know Harbor.
let me switch gears. Let me take you to what happened after I showed the story. See how your girl was? Common sense alert. You see, if I had more hair right now, I'd be ripping it out of my head. These teachers wrote a letter to that attorney, and I'm glad the superintendent said what's to play here. But all these allegations, taking over the bathrooms, defecating on the school floors, wiping feces on the wall. Those are unsanitary conditions, and if that happened here in Flower Bluff, I would have known about it. But if I would have found out that no one's doing anything about it, I would seriously screw them up and tell them, hey, get your act together. Because this story has got common sense written all over it. 4 hours ago, I commented, where's the common sense? Common sense alert.
That's exactly what I commented on.
Where are the parents? You can't have kids misbehaving this badly, and the parents know about it. The parents do know about it, deny their kids' behavior. They are part of the problem. Hope they all go to jail. Okay. One reason that it's because school staff is giving students too much freedom. Since there were no consequences other than the phone call home.
Too much freedom.
The principal students didn't act this way because they knew they wouldn't get in any trouble. Tommy needs to put in strict.
Too much freedom. That's just what it was. Too much freedom. So the bottom line here is this. I mean, keep writing that letter. No unsafe conditions. No too much freedom. Ban cell phones. Exactly what you need to do. Do it anyway. Well, throughout the couple of weeks, last week we showed you an educational documentary called Stupid in America. But now there's a part 3 to it, and we're going to play you that with reuniting all the characters in that story. That when we return. Please stay with us. Last Saturday we took a second look into Saturday and Sunday we took a second look into how schools cheat our kids. Stupid in America. But now there's more to this. We're now going to take another second look into Stupid in America, but this time it's the same characters but different. When this first aired on Fox years ago, nobody liked it. And that prompted everybody to write to Stossel saying this, and that. So here's John Stossel with the second look.
When Americans hear that our public schools struggle, the natural answer is, give them more money. We don't value education in America. Teachers make a fraction of what lawyers and bankers make. We need to get our priorities straight. Fund the schools. But what people don't know is that over the past 30 years, America has tripled school funding. America now spends much more than other countries spend. Yet, what do we get? Well, we get more buildings and more assistant principals, but student learning? No improvement. Test scores are just flat. A few places do buck the trend, though, like the American Indian Charter Schools in Oakland, California. They educate the so-called at-risk kids. Most are poor enough to qualify for free government lunch, and yet those charter schools are among the highest scoring public schools in California. Ben Chavis created the model they follow and wrote a book about his experience titled Crazy Like a Fox. Steve Brill is a serial entrepreneur. He created Court TV, some magazines, and now he's written a book about education, Class Warfare, Inside the Fight to Fix America's Schools. So, Steve, your book says that what America needs is now a grand bargain with the unions. But I can't believe that because the unions don't want any change or to fire any teachers. I think you wimped out in your research for your book.
Well, no one's certainly ever accused me of that. I think what we need is a grand bargain with teachers. There are 3.2 million public school teachers in this country, and it's the only workplace where we don't take performance into account, as you have documented. The only way to fix that,
only
however,
workplace where we don't take performance into account, meaning
That's
the
right.
better teacher gets nothing.
the only thing that counts is how long you've been breathing. And that's what the seniority system is about, and that's what the tenure system is about.
But how do you
Tenure is not-
change that without going outside the union?
You have to bend the union and tear
Ben
up the
Chavis, can you
contract.
bend the unions? I didn't think they bent.
They're stiff as a board. You
Well,
couldn't
bending
bend
in
them
some
no matter how you tried.
Listen, I don't want to be here as a defender of any union contract that exists today. What you have to do is take the union contract and tear it up and do a new one. There are lots and lots of teachers who care. And there are lots and lots of teachers who are embarrassed by the ridiculous positions their union takes. And those are the teachers you have to reach, and those are the teachers who have to become the leadership of those unions.
Ben, you're running a few schools. What do you think about what he says?
Sounds like I think he would want to negotiate with the Klan. I don't know how you can negotiate with these people. I've never met the union members he's talking about. They hate competition. They hate us.
Meaning,
Charter schools. I don't know any union that supports charter schools. I don't know any union members. As a matter of fact, they won't come and visit your school, but they'll talk about you. They don't want us to be able to compete. They don't want my kids, for example, if you're in Oakland, if you're a charter school, they don't want you to be funded the same as the public schools. We're funded $6,000, $7,000 less. And they say that's okay. They're only concerned with themselves. They have no interest in kids. The union has been around forever, and they have no record of showing an interest in kids.
Well, my book documents exactly everything that Ben says, so I don't disagree with a word of it except the first sentence. What I'm saying is that there are certain union leaders. There is a union leader in Tampa, Florida, Hillsborough County, who actually is a reformer.
well,
And
we're going
she
to have a
is-
union leader who's on this show later who's now going to
Okay.
run a charter school.
Well, there you go. So you wouldn't want to say he's disqualified because he once ran the union. You wouldn't want to say that this union.
No, but I
leader
would
in
want to
Hillsborough
say you
County-
can't enforce your union rules on
Exactly
everybody.
right. We have no
But you
disagreement.
said that Randy Weingartner, the head of the biggest union, maybe ought to run the New York school
What I
system.
said was, and I said it very carefully, that if she were under the thumb of a mayor who's used to keeping his subordinates under his thumb,
But why would you even include a union
Because
leader
if
who
you-
has stopped teachers from being fired?
it's sort of the ultimate Nixon to China play. But again, I wouldn't give her the latitude to do what she wants. I'd say, all right, here are the policies. We're going to have accountability.
You
We're gonna
agree
pay
one
teachers
policy for
performance.
accountability means fire a teacher if you think they're not doing a good job?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's
What
totally
union
logical.
ever allows that? You
A
say
lot of unions allow that.
I don't know the union he's talking about. I've never met him. And Randy, if she was in charge of the New York public school system, that's scary to me. She's only interested in protecting the teachers. The old union bosses, I like them. Those guys were right up front. We only care about the teachers. We have no interest in the kids. Kids don't pay dues. These guys, no, I do prefer the Klan over these union guys. Because, you know why? I know I stand for those guys. These guys, they lie to you. They say, we're about the kids. All we want to do is help the kids. They don't care about the
Well,
kids.
the fact is, I mean, that's nice to hear, but the fact is, that, I mean, I can't believe I'm sitting here defending the union. I mean, only on your show.
Well,
could
at the
you
end of your book, you sort of say we need the union.
But if you go to Pittsburgh today, or Tampa, Florida, you have unions that have implemented exactly the kind of reforms we're talking about.
Really?
Teachers don't get, the
They don't
tenure
get
we're
tenure?
talking about. They do not, after a very brief hearing, they're gone. No
Okay.
more, no less of a hearing than someone at Fox News would get if they weren't performing. Seriously.
I'll have to go
Paid
check
on
that out.
basis.
Ben, I gave Steve a hard time about stuff. Let me give you a hard time a little bit. Some say we shouldn't have you on this show because you're so politically incorrect. And we did tape him saying some things that would make my neighbors around here in New York say, oh, you can't say that.
What you gonna study?
Science.
Science? A Mexican in science? Yeah, good for you, hey. You'll be a rare bird.
So in the regular system, Ben, around here you would be toast. And yet you've got this enormous success.
Hey, I'm honest with them. And she would be a rare bird. I got 6 kids who are attending UC Davis this year in the engineering department, not in the ethnic studies department. 6 minority kids. They're in engineering. They are rare birds. And they're very successful, and they're going to be successful. But of course, I just say it the way I see it.
And your purpose in saying that to her is what?
To tell her the truth.
Because she's going to be hearing stuff like that. She
Oh.
ought to hear it from you.
I'm gonna. When she hears someone say something negative, she's gonna laugh. She's gonna say, "You should have heard what my principal said in high school."
And we showed earlier the union saying we shouldn't have all this standardized testing. It doesn't really measure learning. You have a different opinion.
Well, I think if you do away with standardized testing, you should do away with scoring in basketball, scoring in football, track. You know, you
It
can
turns
compare.
out to make how fast you run.
You can. Oh, it makes a big difference.
I know, I'm kidding.
You know, I went to college on a track scholarship.
I know, that
I
was
would have gotten out if I hadn't have been. So I'm all for testing. Testing is objective. And the reason the union is against testing is they don't want to be held accountable, as we all know. We would love to have a job where there's no accountability.
And you argue that your kids like tests.
They love it. They don't like it. They love it. They love to come to school and show what they've learned. It's like playing a basketball game. Kids love the night of the basketball game because they're going to get to show all of their hard work is going to be displayed. That's why my kids love testing. My kids have the highest SAT scores in Oakland.
And Steve, charter schools I visited have done impressive jobs. The kids are excited about learning. But you argue in your book that these teachers are going to burn out. And I asked some charter teachers about it. But you're going to burn out. Why aren't you ticked off?
That's not an option for us because we kind of have our eye on the prize with these kids.
And when you see the results that we're getting, it's hard to be ticked off by it.
I mean, I can see that's what they say, they're enthusiastic, but I don't know how long they'll be enthusiastic.
Listen, what I found in doing my reporting, and I love those teachers I was interviewing, is that, they would do it for 2 or 3 or 4 years, but then, ultimately, when they get to be your age or my age or even a little bit younger, if you're answering your cell phone, which you're required to do, 24/7, if a
At
parent
home,
has
if
a
a
problem,
parent has a
at
question,
home,
if a student
well,
wants
when you
homework
start
help.
to have kids and you start to do this for 5 or 6 or 8 years, that becomes a problem. You have to be realistic about that. You have to
Ben,
change.
we're not being realistic, asking these teachers to work this hard.
I totally disagree with them. It's like people who play golf. They love to play golf. My teachers, I was at the school this morning at 4:30 before I came here. I had to catch a flight in San Francisco. I was at a school, and that when I was leaving, there was a teacher coming in at 6. They love it.
They'll burn out.
Do the golfers burn out? When teachers come into our school, their first hire, they said, we've heard all these crazy things. They get there, they start working with those kids. They love it. I mean, we got a waiting list now for kids. We got a waiting list for teachers. People want to work with us because they know they're going to change people's lives. Teachers work 180 days a year, which is less than a half year.
Because of summer off.
They have the
and
summer,
lots of
every
holidays.
holiday known to mankind, we have off. So I don't know how you're going to burn us out in 180 days when there's 365 days. We have a better vacation plan than you do.
Well, the charter schools.
We're out of time on that note. My vacation plan is closing in. Thank you, Ben Chavis and Steve Brill. Next, how American public school is like this.
There's more Stupid American We return. Next, how education is like this car. Please stay with us. Government-run schools are failing because they're like monopolies. Because nobody likes competition. Competition is why we have we have better cell phones, we have better computers, we have better technology, etc. But with government-run schools, there's no competition. There's an old saying, you cannot mix oil and water. But to continue this segment, we're going to show you a car which you have to mix, which you're going to mix the gasoline with the oil. Take a look.
We need that kind of competition in education because when you don't have real competition, you get things like the Trabant.
It was a terrible car. He had to put the oil and gas in separately and then shake the car to mix them. The car spews pollution. The man in Indiana happens to like collecting this terrible car.
Since there's no gas gauge, this is checking the fuel.
He owns 6.
When government runs things, this is what we get.
In fact, this is what cars looked like when government did run the car business. The Trabant and the Yugo were the best cars the communists could produce. And yet, the commies were so proud of those cars.
Band 601, bequem für 4 Erwachsene. Wendig. Schnell. Klassischer Begleiter, der neue Trabant 601.
They said they were great cars, and people there didn't know better because no competition was allowed. It's just like our public school system.
Our school system, the Trabant. Now, economist Milton Friedman understood that the government school monopoly was a problem before the rest of us did. In 1955, Friedman proposed school vouchers. instead of spending $13,000 per child on government schools. That's what America spends on average today. Instead of just giving that money to the bureaucrats and then assigning kids to schools based on where they live, he said attach the money to the kid. Let the child and his family choose which school to attend. Then the schools would compete for that money and competition would improve all the schools. His idea was ignored for decades, but now there are voucher experiments in many states, and this year in Indiana, all low-income families can use a voucher to escape the government monopoly. Patrick Byrne now chairs the Friedman Foundation for Education Choice, and he also knows plenty about competition because he's the CEO of Overstock.com, the internet company that buys, well, overstock stuff that companies can't sell and resells it cheap to people. And your point is that everybody wants choice, and that includes education?
Right. Let's just remember the fundamental purpose of a monopoly. The reason business guys try to get monopolies, the whole point of getting monopoly is to sell an inferior product at a high price. It doesn't change anything when a monopoly happens to be owned and managed by the state, by the government. It's still in the business of delivering really an inferior product at a high price. We're spending $700 billion, this country is, on educating 50 million kids. It's $13,000, $14,000 per child. Our results are at the bottom of the industrialized world. And that's our future. If we're educating kids at the same level as, I don't want to name a country, but Albania, say, there's no reason to think our standard of living is going to be better than them in the long run.
In Albania's, I hope it still is, but you argue that K-12 education is the least innovative major industry in America.
Right.
Because of lack of competition.
Well, yeah, it's if somebody came from 150 years ago and went to many classrooms today, they would really recognize what's going on. There's safety in just sticking with the old system. And so it's really, you can't think of another industry in America which has been less innovative than government education.
All right, so vouchers to create innovation. It is startling if you do the math. At $13,000 per kid, that means more than $200,000 per classroom. You'd think, wow, let's compete to get that money, and schools would be very innovative. And yet, what if somebody says, okay, I'll take the voucher money and we'll start the Al-Qaeda school of Sharia law?
Right. The madrasa problem. The problem with madrasa is I first asked, would you do that? Would anyone in the audience send their child to the Al-Qaeda school? So why do you worry so much about freedom? And if people had the ability to choose, they would make this choice you disapprove.
Well, you don't think you'd have some religious fanatics who would do that, and then the taxpayer would have to help support that?
Well, I heard Rose Friedman, Milton's bride, was once asked that, and she said, this country could survive a few madrasas. But I'm not. That's a really trusted.
I think her point was that it wouldn't be as bad as the urban school systems we have now.
Right, which are.
And parents want their kids to succeed in America.
But I actually think that the risk of parents sending their kids to some fanatic school system where they teach that the earth is flat, I think that's really an overstated risk.
Now, one other thing people don't like about vouchers is that it might perpetuate inequality. Rich people would take their voucher and have an even richer private school.
No, they have it exactly backwards. I think this is the civil rights issue of the 21st century, vouchers and school choice. The average private school in America, K through 8, is $5,000. The 9 through 12 is $7,000. We tend to think of private schools as being dramatically more expensive.
This is what private schools charge.
That's what private schools charge. So really, if the state is spending $13,000 or $14,000, they just gave you a voucher for $7,000, and you can go out and afford.
So the voucher is worth half what the state is spending on its schools.
So the state saves money. You get more money left behind per child in the government school. So everybody in the situation is better off, except, of course, the guild, the union.
One country has vouchers, Chile. And I thought it would be a big success, but they have riots now in Chile because they are so upset that some kids are taking their vouchers and going to better schools. And the protesters want to abolish all private schools. People are uncomfortable with free choice.
Yes, let's abolish the Lexus and the Cadillac and the Fords and just sell Trabants. there are always people who are going to be in favor of let's just have the government and that the government run a monopoly and so forth. But that's why I'm sure there were people in East Germany who didn't want to see anything but Trabants delivered.
Well, thank you, Patrick Byrne. I just want to ask you one last question. What's with the suit? Is this overstock?
No, I'm going with the Chinese look these days. This is a Maoist business suit. Do you like it?
Yes, I will say yes. Thank you, Patrick Byrne. Next, we need a guy who went from being an anti-charter school union boss to running a charter school. How's that possible?
Well, it's different. Come up next, we're going to meet a union boss who's now running the school system. Why is that? Please stay with us. Welcome back. We're talking about how schools don't compete with vouchers and don't compete with free choice. If you don't have choices, there's no competition. Let's let the government run everything. Over my dead body, they're going to come here. That's exactly what one person said on the previous documentary, on the previous Stupid America documentary. There was 3 parts. The first one was on 2020, the second one was on Fox, and now this is the third one we're going to look at. Why? Because there's more to this than meets the eye. And also because to re-talk about the issue of competition. You see, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine that runs the ice cream bar here in Flower Bluff. And there was also another one, the Coastal Blends. And she's worried that she might lose customers. And I'm saying to her, like, look, competition makes everything better. If your business goes over a landslide, I will be there to help you out. I meant it. I'll show up every week and see how you're doing. It's competition that gives us everything, like we talk about. Better TVs, better everything. But that's not happening because nobody likes competitions. And when you present school vouchers, you're going to have objections with the school board, the unions, and the PTA. Even the PTA will send children home with letters from the parents saying, look, contact your legislator. How can we spend state money on this plan that wasn't even approved? That's what the state superintendent of South Carolina said, and you can't really compare test scores. Take a look.
Union leaders tend to hate charter schools. Newark's union boss told me, over my dead body, they're going to come to my schools. So I was surprised to learn about A.J. Duffy. He likes to be called just Duffy. He used to be the boss of the powerful Los Angeles Teachers Union, but now he's the boss, or will be soon, of a charter school. So how can you go from trashing charter schools to running one?
Well, it's a matter of circumstances. The background is very quickly, there were a group of teachers at a defunct charter school who called me and said their principals and their executive directors cracked open the state standardized tests and handed it to them and said, you will create lesson plans based upon this. And they said, absolutely not. So they called me and they said, what can we do? We're at-will employees. I said, come on down, let's talk, and we unionized them. So through that process, I got to know these teachers, almost 73 of them. And then we try to keep the schools open because I am the president of the second largest teachers union, or was, and my job is to keep my teachers working. So we tried to keep the schools open, but it became clear that the management of those charter schools were not to the liking of the school board, and that was a good thing because they were corrupt. The schools closed down. We started talking about re-employing the teachers, and they needed somebody to run the place. This Apple Academy is going to allow us to do things in a completely different way for the students. For instance, I heard you talking about how bad tenure was. I think tenure is a good thing, and my teachers will have tenure, but it'll be earned tenure through recertification programs. Let me finish, John. Through recertification programs that every couple of years, under the direction of a master teacher and a principal, they will have to recertify. Each time they do, they will get a little more tenure, Now,
It sounds endless.
You add recertification programs to quality professional development, and you have teachers who are constantly involved in getting better at their craft, getting better at teaching.
What if they're not?
And
What if they're lousy? You call it. We got apples because you say it's the Apple Academy.
Student-centered.
What if there's a bad apple? If they've got tenure, you can't say sorry. Let's get rid of the bad
Yes,
apple.
you can. In California, the charter school setup is you can get rid of ineffective teachers.
And they say that in New York too. This is what it's required. All these steps to get rid of a tenured teacher
Not
in New
in
York.
a charter school.
Well, not at the charter school. So you'll be able to fire. You'll be able to say sorry, apple.
Yes. Will we do that in one fell swoop? No. We're going to bring in our own peer assistance and review program. We're going to have teachers helping teachers, but if we find teachers are ineffective and they're not helping the students, then we're going to fire them.
I would assume
any
feel
teacher
bad for the kids.
who's guilty of doing something immoral or illegal, they're gone.
Well, that's good to know. But I feel bad for the kids because I assume your school will not perform well. You know, in New York, there's one, the teachers union said, oh, we're going to have choice of charters? Well, we'll run one. It's one of the worst.
You know, I have the opportunity at the end of my career to show the world that progressive charter school management and teachers at the local school site who are unionized can work together for what's best for the kids. Now, the teachers that we'll be hiring are pretty much from the old school, and their academic performance index, which is California's way of judging schools, was through the ceiling. There is no reason to believe that it will be any less quality for the students in that community.
Well, I hope you do it and prove me wrong and succeed for the kids. Duffy, thank you for joining us here today. Later, I'll show you some very cool things that are already happening because of school choice. But next, the audience will have its say.
All right. Coming up next, the audience is going to have their say, and later on, some new things are happening in those charter schools. We're going to do our second look into part 3 of Stupid in America. Stay with us. So far, we heard from 3 guests. One who runs a charter school, one who's against charter schools, and possibly one that just, I don't know how to say it. So now, let's see what the audience has to say. And your question might pop up if you're one of the audience members in this story.
But first, I want to ask the audience something. How many of you went to public schools, or government schools as I like to call them? How many of you got a good education at those schools? Most of you. But I would argue that without real competition, you don't know what you might have had. You don't know that it was a good education. You might have gotten a Trabant and thought you got a good education, just like the Russians or the East Germans thought they had a good car. Right? So I just want to plant that idea in your head, since most of you think you got a good education in government-run schools. But let me go to your questions. Yes, sir.
Shouldn't we at least consider selling our public schools and making them private? And with the high technology that we have now, shouldn't the cost of an education be going down instead of up?
Not in America. We spend more money, it costs more to educate a child per year, or a cow, than it does to incarcerate anyone. It costs $50,000 a year in California to incarcerate a person. In Oakland, California, it's $18,000 a year. Well, you only spend 6.5 hours a day in school, or it's cheaper to have someone in prison.
Who's next? Yes, sir.
Historian Will Durant stated that liberty and equality are lifelong and everlasting enemies. Was he right or wrong?
Liberty and equality are enemies. Duffy?
I don't think so. I mean...
But the union stands for equality, right? Every teacher gets paid the same.
Is public education perfect? Far from it. But are there oases of excellence that exist within public education?
Are you going to pay good teachers more at your school?
We're going to pay our teachers more and train them better.
But some teachers more than others?
And have them work together to create quality education for the students that we will serve.
That sounds like boilerplate. I mean, it's a yes or no question. You're going to pay some teachers more than
others? It's not really boilerplate. We're going to pay our teachers a fair and equitable salary, and that's what teachers really want, and do what's right.
This sounds like union gobbledygook to me. Are you going to pay a good teacher more than another teacher, or everybody gets paid the same?
Everybody at the beginning will certainly get paid the same.
Later, will some get raises, others not?
I have no problem looking at those, but it becomes a matter of what's the standard we're using to judge what's a better teacher. What we're going to do at Apple
You're the
is
boss.
build,
You can just decide.
You know what? This is going to be a teacher-driven school, student-centered. Parents will be a part of what we do. And we're going to build something at Apple Academy that's never happened before. I cannot tell you whether a good teacher is going to get paid more because I don't know what the standard is. We're going to create that standard.
Wait a minute, Mr. Duffy. The standard is the American Indian model. We're the #1 school in California. We're the standard. You're going to have to whip us now. Every black in Oakland, California who passed AP Calculus came from my school. 30-some other high schools, not one passed.
And you pay teachers different amounts and fire teachers quickly?
Sure do. You know, it's once you open your school, Apple, it's easy to talk about what you're going to do, but when you have a lousy teacher, you'll get them out.
You get them out in one day.
One day. The teachers who teach great. I got Mr. Isaac Berniker. 79% of his students pass the AP Calculus. Every senior in our high school takes AP Calculus. He gets paid very well. The one who was teaching physics, that Mexican's gone. He's a Mexican, I'm Indian. Married to my kids are half Mexican. That don't make no difference to me. He had to go. The Hebrew got to stay because he's doing a great job. Am I racist? No. Yes. No. He did a great job. Statistics, 79%. The other guy.
But what does it matter if he's a Mexican or not? You are racist.
He's a lazy. He made us look bad. He cheated my kids. He cheated our kids. They're minority. He wants to talk about, oh, I'm for the kids. He wasn't for the kids. They didn't pass the class. Why are we always training the teachers? They spent 5 years in a university. They come to work for me, and I'm supposed to train them. In our school, we don't train the teachers. We train the kids. I think it's a waste of money. If a person went to UC Berkeley for 5 years, and then you come to work for me and I have to train you again, you should get a refund from Berkeley. Why did you talk about training teachers? What about training kids?
Teachers need constant training. Teachers need to look at data all the time. Teachers need to look at the student population they're dealing with, and that can change from year to year to year. Teacher need quality professional development. That is absolute. I disagree with that. I think that is not the Guild. The Guild doesn't run the professional development. The Guild helps craft the professional development to meet the needs of classroom teachers so that they can meet the needs of students.
John Stossel couldn't go to a public high school and teach journalism because you don't have the Guild certificate. So
you wouldn't be allowed to.
You wouldn't be allowed to. So that's the Guild protecting itself.
You would need to go through training.
Who's next? Yes.
Why is it that we treat teachers with such kid gloves? You know, we worry about them burning out. We worry about them, working long hours. I mean, the school day ends at 2:30. We worry about them, they don't work in the summer. Why is it that we treat teachers so differently than any other profession?
I'm not sure. I do know.
But you agree with them?
I'm going to answer in my way, John. I do know that clearly what's going on now is that education is changing, and that's a good thing. And maybe it'll come to pass that teachers do work longer. But you know as well as I do that there are a lot of teachers out there that work more than just their 6 hours a day. They grade papers, they do a lot of extra work. Hell, when I was a teacher, I was in the community tutoring in the inner city.
Yes, sir.
If there's a lack of innovation in public education today, then why don't we abolish the Department of Education that sets a very specific curriculum? Isn't that really the antithesis of innovation?
May I hit that one?
Hit it out of the park there. I'm with you. Let's abolish the federal department.
But it's not just, we shouldn't stop there. A lot of people have been talking about the union tonight. It's not just the union. The problem is I think, deeply embedded in the district, county, state, and federal. It's like the
There's
old...
even a name for this resistance, right? The blob.
The blob. I call it the guild, you call it the blob. It's this old Soviet agricultural system.
The school boards, the PTAs, the educrats, the professional educators, and the union, Duffy. And you point out that on the Indian reservations there's no union, but there's still a blob.
Yes, I'm not obsessed with the union myself. I don't have any problem with the union. I think it's the school board. If you get rid of the school board, who is elected by the union, they schedule elections where they can control the school board. At the university, we have unions, but we have one school board for the whole state. I'd like to go to one school board for the whole state of California. That would castrate the union.
Okay, and the blob. You've heard the phrase the blob?
Yes, the educrats, the blob. You used the show in your show 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, Jabba the Hutt is the good image that I can think of. And I felt this dealing with Randy Weingarten, the head of the union, protesting my show. Teach, John, teach, he said. You teach for a week. See what it's like. And I surprised her by saying, okay, I will. Then they had 400 meetings. Months later, they couldn't even agree on finding me a classroom in which to teach. It's like they don't say no, they just say yes, and then they smother you in bureaucracy.
They want
training.
How, get some training, John.
Yeah, that's how teacher unions have evolved to where they are now. Not fighting the community, not fighting parents, but fighting school district bureaucracies that are stuck on stupid. Now, clearly, teacher unions have to evolve. And I think there are places in the country where they are evolving. And it's happening in significant ways, but it has to happen more.
The problem is, it's the incentive of the union and the blob not to evolve. So we can sit and talk about how much we want it to evolve. It's in their economic incentive not to evolve. Their incentive is to fence off and protect the monopoly so they can continue to serve a bad product at a high
It's only
price.
competition that changes that.
Well,
It's an
that's what I
overstock.
want
All
to
this
change.
cheap stuff that you can hang on, Duffy. Yeah, I assume it's overstock. It must be cheap. None of those
great.
companies wanted to sell it to you cheaply. They were forced to because it wasn't doing well.
The incentives. It's all about the incentives. Yeah, until you get competition, it's just going to be an incentive of the blob to slow down reform, to keep anything from changing so they can keep extracting monopoly rents.
Thank you all for spending time with us today. Coming up, we'll introduce you to someone who says school choice saved his life.
Many people not like school vouchers. But if you were to meet somebody that says, "Oh, school vouchers saved my life," then maybe then you might meet that someone who became a hero about school vouchers. Coming up, you'll meet a man who says how school vouchers saved his life. And we'll take a second look into those school vouchers and why it's a good plan and why I think it's a good idea. Call it Carmony's Take. Please stay with us. Vouchers might be a good idea to some people, but why would they kill a voucher if it has not been proven? Well, if you look at some states that are doing this, Texas is probably the one that could do school choice. But without choice, you don't have the money attached to the kids. And when the State Department of Education gets involved, they'll just kill the vouchers and say, nope, we're not going to do it. And this is what they'll do. And the unions will join in like, when a kid acts up. No, I won't! Come on. We're going to go try this on, okay? We're going to try this on, okay? Don't work! Move your hand! You're stuck on my toe, you fuck! You come on, how did everything go? It ain't fit. Come on, son of a bitch. It's like everything's no. Birthday party. You got a lot of things already. You don't need a birthday party. So you can show off. No. Why are you crying out? No. Chuck E. Cheese. You want to see a mouse? Put the refrigerator out. I got a mouse back there. What's my feet? My feet. My feet. Well. All right. We're off topic here.
Why? The president's press secretary had trouble answering that question.
The president has concerns about taking large amounts of funding out of the system to.
After the cancellation, there were protests.
President Barack Obama, you say that getting an education is the key to success. But why do you sit there and let my education and others be taken away?
Yeah, why? Did you ever get an answer? But before you respond, let me explain to our audience who you are, that you were the high school student making that speech. Ronald Velassi got a voucher 6 years ago that allowed him to escape the terrible D.C. public school system. Now he's a freshman at Barry University in Miami. So, what happened? Did the president ever respond?
Well, I really don't know where the program got reauthorized, so...
So maybe he heard, actually, it was authorized against his wishes. He got bullied into it by the Speaker of the House, and after it was reauthorized, he said the administration opposes the creation or expansion of private school voucher programs. The federal government should focus its attention and resources on improving the quality of public schools for all students. What do you say to that?
Well, why would you... I understand that you want to focus your attention on improving the public school system, but what are you going to do about the students that are in failing schools now? What are they going to do? You're going to leave them there to suffer? No.
They've been promising to fix it.
Exactly, but we need action now, and that's why we have the DC Opportunity Scholarship Program. So that's why
you were in the before you got your Opportunity Scholarship through a lottery. You were lucky to get it. You were in the public schools, and there was a big difference?
Huge difference. Academically, also with safety, that was a big issue back in the public school system when I was in there.
There were lots of fights?
Yes, lots of fights. There were shootings, stabbings, and it was really unsafe drugs. You had to get to... My mother, basically, she wanted me out of that environment. She wanted to put me in something that was totally different, which she wouldn't have to worry.
But she didn't have the $13,000 that
at that time. She didn't have it. She just didn't have it.
The Opportunity Scholarship was much less than that. It was just $7,000.
Yes, $7,500
at the time. But that was enough to get you into a Catholic school that was just much better.
Yeah, it got me into Archbishop Carroll High School.
And what'd you notice? What was the difference?
Academically, I was actually challenged academically. I remember when I was in the public school system, my teacher left in the middle of the year, and I remember doing crossword puzzles and stuff like that. We weren't actually learning.
Care?
They didn't care. He did not. The teacher that I had did not even care that they so-called put in as a teacher in the classroom. Even us students, 5th and 6th graders, were complaining about it. That experience really set me back.
And your mother, who's from Trinidad, was going to send you to Trinidad, where they actually have good schools. They do well compared to the American schools.
Yeah, they do. They do. My mom, she got to the point that she was really fed up with the system, the public school system, and was really tired of it. And her only option was sending me back to Trinidad to go to school and get an education. That's how she felt. She wasn't going to continue to just let the system fail me. She wasn't going to let that happen.
But you did get the voucher. You were lucky. You've gotten a good education. You're in college. And despite the data showing that the kids are ahead in reading who went to this, who got the voucher, the biggest union, the NEA, says the DC voucher program has been a failure. It's yielded no evidence of positive impact on student achievement.
How is it a failure when the public school system is failing students? It is failing its students. How can you say that a voucher program is a failure. I don't understand that.
I don't understand that either. We have some data on graduation rates, if we can put that up. I look at the DC public schools, 49% graduation rate. Now, we put voucher losers and winners on this graph because perhaps people like your mother who apply for the voucher are a different group, but that's a pretty basic study. The ones who got the voucher, 70% graduate versus 91% of the voucher winners, 99% of the kids from your high school, they do better.
They do, and it's proven. It's proven. It really is.
And I should say we asked the NEA to say, how can you say this? And they didn't call us back. Well, I'm glad it's worked out for you. Yeah. Ronald, thank you for joining us today. Ronald Halassi. Next, some more good news. Some very exciting things are finally happening in classrooms.
But with him saying that, could there be more exciting things happening? Coming up, some exciting things are happening in public education, and yet it could happen. We'll be right back. If you went to a teachers union, maybe here at Corpus, or from a different school system, and say to the head of the teachers union's face, or any teachers union's face, or put a sticky note on the door saying, competition makes everything better. You know what they'll do? It may be criticism to them. They probably won't take criticism quietly. They'll look at this and they go, who wrote this? That Carmen ain't got a place at the intersection. we're marching down his doorstep. Hey, you, we want to talk to you. You criticized us, and now we're marching on your doorstep. Well, that's what they did 6 years ago. Years ago when Stupid America aired back in 2005 or 6. And, well, let's take a look.
Stossel, shame on you.
Educators all over the country feel that they have been kicked in the teeth.
She was upset that I called K through 12 education a government monopoly and said monopolies don't serve their customers well. I don't think she'd even heard the system called a monopoly at the time. When I interviewed her about it, she replied, people who say that don't like children. And yet now, just a few years later, lots of people call the current system a government monopoly. And millions of kids get to escape it via charter schools or vouchers. 18 school districts now have more than 20% of their kids enrolled in charter schools. 6 had more than 30%. And when Hurricane Katrina destroyed much of New Orleans, the city replaced most of its schools with non-union charters. All this happened in just 5 years. Homeschooling is up too, all around America, and the results are good. The homeschoolers outperform the government school kids on SAT tests and ACT tests. So do many of the charter school kids. Not all. But the beauty of charters and private schools is that when they don't do a good job, they die. They go out of business. The bad government monopoly schools never went out of business. This new competition has led to promising innovation, too. More kids now learn on computers. Think about this. 200 years ago, most towns had one best singer. You were stuck with that singer. But then came radio and records and CDs and now the internet. And thanks to that, the best singers now reach the whole world. Certainly, there's a best teacher, too, or several. Now those teachers, via the internet, can reach the whole world. Up until now, the blob has slowed that progress, but that's changing, too. At this California school, students learn from one of those internet teachers. The local teachers resisted the change at first, but now they're excited about it because the kids are excited to learn.
They love it. They're happy to walk in the door every morning. They're excited about math. It isn't, oh, we're doing math. It's like, oh my gosh, we have math this morning. That's great.
And I visited charter schools in Harlem where I was surprised to meet kids who want to go to school and are so poised and confident that they gave me a hard time when I said things like this. School is boring.
No!
It's not. My school was boring. That charter school's on to something. I don't presume to say that they have the answer to know what learning method will prove to be the best. But the beauty of competition is that none of us needs to know. The best methods emerge through competition. And when that happens, 1,000 flowers will bloom. And I bet most of them will be better than what we've got now. That's our show. Thanks for watching. Good night.
All right. I'll have Carmony's take when we come back. Please stay with us. Let 1,000 flowers bloom. That's what John Snelson has said. But in my take on this, it's like, you know, without competition, I mean, I'm not against competition. I'm with what Stossel has said, which what inspired me to create this broadcast. But if it wasn't for me, there wouldn't be any competition. It's why we have video game systems, Blu-ray. It's why we have Blu-ray, we have DVD, we have Xbox, PlayStation. We have better TV systems. But it's like I said before, if you decide to criticize the TV news and say that competition's better and talk about monopolies, they'll march down your doorstep and tell you shame on you. And then they'll make you teach to see how hard it will struggle. Well, no one has ever taught me, because let me tell you, I've had teachers in this community that taught me very well. And if they came on this broadcast tonight, they would tell me, yes, we taught him very well. And they're exactly right. But every time I say but, it's like forget everything just said, I'm not going to say what I believe me. But what I'm trying to say is, nobody should be judging anybody based on what goes on. If you choose to start a charter school, you choose to spend less. If you choose to work at a public school, then you get more. If they choose to fire you after one day, that's their choice. Accountability gets put into place. We're not comparing accountability to competition. There's a difference between being responsible and getting paid more. Except one difference is if you get held accountable, you don't get paid. If you get paid, then you get paid in money. We all know that. We all do. The thing that people need to understand here is this. Competition makes everything better, and not one flower would bloom. That's why we have Trabants. You gotta put in the oil and the gasoline separate, and you shake it like a baby. But the thing is, without competition, nobody can compete. And without vouchers, we couldn't even escape the bad school system. I was in CCISD before 2003. And, you know, there was a Head Start program. We were on a CCISD bus, and there was no fucking permission slips. My mama was pissed, and poof. I was in that school, and I'm thinking about going there next week for a little memory lane. Because I went to that school before, and that Head Start place, because that's where I got my education. I mean, that's probably the start of something called universal pre-K. Every child should have a chance to start school before kindergarten. And when Obama was president, he had that idea. And I did this before, and this happened to me before Obama was president. I started Head Start and went to ECC in 2003. In 2003 or 4 or 5. I was 6 years old when I moved to Flower Bluff. And to this day, 22 years later, I'm proud to be a Hornet, always will be a Hornet. I graduated 2016. I've had a great public education system in Flower Bluff. A great school system. Take that money. I mean, that money from CCISD. They can take that and they can move it up here to Flower Bluff. That will force CCISD to do better. That's what competition does. Competition, as I've said before, it makes everything better. That's why we have Xboxes and PlayStations, Blu-rays, and regular DVDs.
Okay.
That was kind of weird. But the thing that I understand here, like I've always said, if we do not have competition, nobody can compete like we're in the Olympics or something. And for firing teachers, it's like, I mean, for the Dance of the Lemons, it's like, it was funny, except, you know, you're stuck with a bad teacher. I've never been stuck with any bad teacher. I've known teachers for years. They taught me well, and I would never, ever criticize any teacher. If I met Nancy Vera at the Teachers Union here at Corpus Christi, I would never, ever, ever criticize her. And if she came to the next meeting with my friend Alyssa Lamb, I would not criticize her in any way, shape, or form. Because if I did, and she saw this, you know what she would tell me? Teach for a week. And I'll say, yes, I will teach. Pick any school in the TCIC system, and I'll take a Wednesday off to go teach. Just one day a week. Every Wednesday. I will teach. Pick any school in the TCIC area, and I'll teach. And then it'd be up to them to say, well, couldn't find any school system, cannot do it. It's like people are being sarcastic. Not that I'm calling teachers union sarcastic. I'm not calling Nancy Vera a sarcastic woman. She's a nice lady. The only thing I'm trying to get here is don't ever criticize the teachers unions just because of what goes on. Everybody has an opinion. It doesn't mean you need to march down their doorstep and say, shame on you, or something else. When you have choices, or what channel you're going to watch, or something else, it's competition that makes everything good and makes everything better. And it's even why stuff goes on in any school system that we can ever think of. And throughout the 8 years, we've been focusing on education scandals unlike any before. We're going to take another break. We'll be right back. On the very first season of this broadcast, there was a story we talked about. It was a story, it was this video, it was a two-part, two-camera angle body cam that showed of an officer who challenged a victim after one of the person in that car says, F the police. That prompted the officer to be fired, and even the officer, which you'll hear tonight, of him saying F the police. That's our second look.
How's it going? License and insurance.
Choose your option. Wait.
Can I slide that food over? Yeah, I'll be glad to tell you in just 1 second. Is everybody alright? What's going on? Who yelled out the window? Yeah, come on back here with me, Miss Bird. Yes, sir. Miss Bird, yes, sir. I'm gonna ask you one time. How long you had your license? Over 6 months. Over 6 months. Everybody, you're good to haul everybody around there, okay? Yes, sir. I'm gonna ask you one time. Yes, sir. All right. If you don't, we're gonna go another route with it. Who yelled out of your Jeep when you went by us? It was Brandon. Who? Brandon. Which one's Brandon? In the front seat. Get out the Jeep. Yes, sir. what you had to say? No, tell me one more time you're going to jail, son. What's your name? Brandon Hughes. I know who you are. Is there something you need to say to us that you want to yell out the window? Who you yelling at? Look at me when you talk to me, son. Who you going to yell at? What'd you say? F the police. You're sorry. Get your hands out of your pockets. Why you want to say that to the police? No, I ain't protecting you. F the police. Why? You can get back. Why do you want to F the police, son? Why you say it then? You think it's going to make you a badass or something in front of everybody?
No, sir, I don't, because I'm getting fussed out right now.
You want to fuck the police?
No,
well, here I am, right here, brother.
I don't want to.
Why not? You're a tough guy. Come on. Huh?
I'm not tough.
You seemed like a little baby the day you was in court, remember?
Yes, sir.
I'm giving you every opportunity.
No, sir.
Then why you want to yell about it when you're in front of your buddies right there? Is it cool?
No, sir.
You trying to be a badass in front of them?
No, sir.
You sure?
Yes, sir.
I'm giving you every opportunity to fuck me up. You understand?
Yes, sir.
Now let me ask you this. What have I ever done to you?
Nothing at all.
Not a damn thing. What has my partner ever done to you?
Not a thing.
Not a damn thing, right?
Yes, sir.
So why do you want to fuck the police?
I don't. I was being dumb.
No, it's a little bit more than being stupid is what I think. So let me ask you something. Next time you get caught selling weed or having weed on you, do you think somebody's going to try to cut you a break? If I go to goddamn jerking everybody out of that damn Jeep and I find 1 ounce of damn weed, do you think I'm going to take everybody to jail?
Yes, sir. No, sir. Just me.
No, hell, I'm going to take every one of your damn friends to jail.
Yes, sir.
How old are you?
17.
I didn't know y'all could be so goddamn stupid anymore. Everybody get out of the Jeep. You want to see how big of a damn asshole police is going to be? I'm fixing to show you. I'm fixing to search every damn one of you and every damn ounce of this Jeep. Now, so help me God, if I find one damn seed, every damn one of you is going to go to jail because of fuck the police, son. 17. Can you 25 with me up at Checkers? Up here at Checkers. It's funny, ain't it? Did y'all laugh? Huh? Did you laugh? Did you laugh? You think it's funny? Yeah, radio. Show me 1038. Charlie Echo Yankee 6704. CEY 6704. Be North Cherokee at Checkers. This smart ass right here says fuck the police.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Who you going first?
Bird, you can get back in the damn Jeep, son. You ain't done nothing wrong. Y'all two pile back in there. Y'all ain't done nothing wrong. Ain't no sense in y'all paying for this stupid ass's damn. That's that knucklehead off of Elm Street right there.
Yeah, that don't remember y'all from.
He don't believe it, but I swear to God I can beat him in basketball.
You can't shoot. You still gotta play me. I've been asking you since I was on Elm.
Dude, let me tell you something. I got 2 damn torn ligaments. I will smoke both of y'all. Y'all can play 2-on-1. Let me tell you something. You'd be so damn. You'd be on your little skinny ass. I'm telling you. You ever seen Charles Barkley play? Why, dude? You know who this is? What's your stepdaddy's name? Brian Massey's stepson.
What?
Yeah. Fuck the police.
What would have done to you?
Hey, dude. I'm gonna be honest with you. Technically, I can't search your damn Jeep. I can't touch y'all, and I don't want to. I'm not an asshole like that. Okay? But I'm gonna tell you something. If you hang around dickheads like this, somebody's gonna mess with you. Okay? I suggest y'all going somewhere. Y'all jet. Where y'all going to eat? Make his ass walk.
You just wasn't thinking.
There's 3 minutes left of this video. I'm actually gonna cut it off right now because
We have to put up with a lot of shit as it is.
I'm gonna try to cut it through.
Because deep down, you have.
Just wasn't thinking. Yeah, we have to put up with a lot of shit as it is.
Yes, sir.
I mean, there's cops getting stopped, getting killed on traffic stops and stuff like that. And then you ride by and you holler that.
Disrespect.
Yes, sir, it is. And we're out here to save your butt.
Yes, sir.
Let me hang on 1 second, Bird. Hey, let me ask you this. You upset because you did it, or you upset because you got caught?
Honestly, both is disrespectful. No, it's race fair.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know that you. I don't know.
I mean, what you did is not breaking the law. You didn't break the law, it's freedom of speech.
Yes, sir.
But still, I mean, just to blatantly out, just holler out while we're trying to do our job. What if that was a DUI person I just stopped on the side of the road and got them off the street and keep hitting somebody in their family and killing them?
Yes, sir.
You got to look at it. You know what I'm saying? It all goes around.
Yes, sir.
I mean, why do you really feel like that? Because you really feel like that. Huh? I mean, I would be okay if you just trying to be a badass in front of your boys.
Yeah.
Because you obviously have some pent-up frustrations. And I'm going to tell you right now, neither one of us done anything to you. So tell me, be honest about it. Why in the world do you really feel that way? Because deep down, you have to feel it. Because you know what? I've done some crazy stuff in my life. Not once have I ever said that.
Have you ever had a bad run-in with the police or anything?
Yeah, bud. Yeah, man, go ahead.
I guess all the pictures everybody thinks about you.
And you buy into that crap?
Make your own picture, dude. I mean, we ain't never done anything to you.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I'm not saying not all cops are good. You do got some bad cops out there, but I don't consider myself one of them.
Yes, sir.
I mean, if you was like in a car accident, whatever, I'd do my best to try to save your life.
Yes, sir.
And that includes putting ourselves in danger doing it. Get out of here. I'm tired of dealing with you.
After this was released, like I said, the officer, he was fired after that. He was fired for threatening to F the police. Now, we have not looked at the comments since then, but for this second look, this has got over almost 10 million views since 2016, right before we started, I first created the show. The officer was fired, now drives around yelling F the police out his window. ... Who get in the window? It was Brendan. Dude folded so fast. Snitched real quick. You know, it's a small town when the police know 3/4 of the kid in the car. Wow. Wow. That's all for this Game Break Saturday. We'll see you again for Game Break Tuesday. Follow us here at YouTube and give me a break. Stop bullying, speak up. Concentration, not strength. No jaywalking. Good night, and happy spring break.